mechanics, and we are just beautiful cars. So take your car into the body
That's
mechanic,
nice.
and they'll sort you out.
What did you know about stomas before this, Adele? Because we've heard a lot about it in the news recently. A Made in Chelsea person, Louise Thompson, has revealed that she's just had a stoma bag fitted. Did you know much about them?
I didn't, and again I say, I'm not ashamed to have a stoma, I'm ashamed I didn't know what one was. That stoma saved my life. Without that, I wouldn't have been able to have the tumour removed. It was so big by the time they'd found it that they had to remove a large section of my large colon. And so the stoma just helps my body go to the toilet in the meantime while my body heals.
Yeah.
And so one thing I noticed was not enough awareness of stomas, so that's something I wanted to change, and that's why it's on the front of the book.
So it's not permanent, stoma?
It's not actually,
Oh,
yeah.
right, okay.
Yes, so some people, if you have a stoma through digestive issues, it can be permanent, but mine is reversible. It's just not been reversed yet.
Oh, okay. Well, good luck with that.
That's amazing.
I've got to say, I think, you know, you were obviously very embarrassed, because I think if I saw blood in my poo, I'd go straight round to the doctor and say, take a look at this.
Yeah, well, it was only
Bring
little
them a plate
bits,
for
to
me.
be honest. So it was like, if you, like, I used to think it was my own cooking. So I thought it was just
I
like,
see.
so it wasn't a lot, it was just little
Yeah,
dots.
chili flakes, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's what it was like, yeah.
That representation is obviously very important. You've done that throughout your life. So to do it with the stoma, tell us ways that you have represented and connected with maybe young children who have a stoma.
Yes, so I had a lovely chat with the Stoma Squad, they're called, at Great Ormond Street.
Aww.
And so these are kids that also have stomas like me, and they talk about how they'd struggle, their school friends wouldn't necessarily understand. So one of the reasons I wanted to run the marathon and try and set a new Guinness World Record is to show what is possible with a stoma and hopefully try and end that stigma.
It's incredible, isn't it? So you mentioned Audrey, you know, a lot. Audrey, I guess, is your friend. Why Audrey, first of all?
Yeah, so my stoma's called Audrey. The stoma nurse who said a good thing to do is to name a stoma so that it helps you get your head around it, and also if you have accidents you can blame it on Audrey. It's not me, it's Audrey that had an accident. And it's named after, the nurses thought Audrey Hepburn, but it's not that classy. There's a musical Little Shop of Horrors, and the big plan. Yeah, so that's what my stoma looks like. And yeah,
So
very 3D.
you made it your friend. Was it? God, it's so early Saturday. Dennis Potter, the great
Yes.
television playwright. He had cancer, and he called it Rupert after Rupert Murdoch because he hated it. And he's sort of there's a battle between him and the reactionary press baron. But anyway, I think having a friendly relationship with your body is probably more healthy.
Tell us about that process of getting to know and love your body again, because you've always had a complicated relationship, as many of us do, with our own bodies, but this changed everything again.
Yeah, again, I think when I was younger, there wasn't enough representation. I think I didn't really see people who looked like me, and so I didn't ever feel sort of confident. And it's taken me a long time to understand that it was just me being silly, really. But seeing the stoma, the first time I saw it, I thought I felt complete for some reason, and I felt really proud of my body, and it gave me an intense appreciation for this amazing machine that works. I've got a body that works, and how ungrateful had I been to not appreciate what I've got.
Music's played a big part in your life. I mean, you were a Radio 1 DJ for such a long time, and I know you DJ out in clubs.
Yeah.
Every chapter has a musical theme to it as well.
Yeah, so every single chapter is a song title. The song relates to what you've just listened to in the chapter, and I hope that if my rudimentary writing doesn't get the point across, you can listen to that song, because there's a QR code in the back and there's a whole playlist, and you can listen to the song and at least understand how I feel.
Yeah.
Give us some examples of songs that kind of meant a lot to you. Like Christmas is a big part of your story.
Yeah, so Have Yourselves a Merry Little Christmas, Judy Garland. Also one where I talk about something very heartbreaking in Al Green's How Can You Mend a Broken Heart? That's in there as well.
It's lovely.
Yeah, the Beatles that make it, and yeah, there's a few dance songs as well, but some lovely ones.
Yeah.
All good choices so far. I
Yes.
love it. Yeah.
You're somebody who thrives off using humour to cope with the challenges. I wonder if, because you have always been such a bright and happy presenter and making things accessible for the listeners when you were on Radio 1, did that help with kind of getting to terms with how you were going to tell the world that you had bowel cancer, that you were getting a stoma, kind of putting it into a kind of an easy to digest way for everyone to understand it, I suppose.
Absolutely. I think one of the things I got from radio, like you say, it's a two-way conversation. People might think it's not, but it really is. And I think I got more from the listeners being on the radio than maybe I gave out. You know, I try to always give my best, Joe, but being on the early breakfast show, especially on the one, you get to see, I think, again, the good in humanity and all the people that keep the world moving while everyone else is asleep, and people that are working for emergency services, and they'd share their stories with me. And again, a great privilege. So it made me realise how important it was for me to share that.
And you were on during COVID times as well, when the radio meant the world to people, even more so than normal times.
Yeah, us and the key workers basically together. And yeah, I just tried to emit positivity.
Is it true that Prince William
That's
would
what I was
listen to
gonna
you? So on early breakfast, Prince William would text in under a pseudonym?
Yeah. What was the pseudonym? Do you know?
We don't know who he
you
was.
guess? Did he have a guess?
We thought he was Wayne the Trucker. So we used to have somebody called Wayne. He was good at type
I love it.
But when Prince William worked on the air ambulance, and he was a key worker, he used to listen to Radio 1 and he used to text in, and I didn't believe these rumours at first until he came into Radio 1 and confirmed it.
He came in because, he was a fan of yours on the radio, but...
Oh, I wish. No, it's because I was running the marathon for his charity.
Yeah, but you became sort of friends.
Oh, no, that's a stretch, but...
Friendly.
met him. Yeah, friendly.
Even royalty love a shout out on the radio, clearly.
They might be listening now.
So tell me about the London Marathon. You decided to run it, and people like me are always in awe of those of you who've done it. So what was that whole process like, Adele? Because it was your first London Marathon, and you're now doing it with a stoma, a big thing.
Yes, it was like spinning plates, because you've sort of got to fuel your body enough to get around 26.2 miles, but you've also got to be wary of the fuel that you put into your body coming out and going into your bag. So it was actually quite a hard balance, but I managed to do it and get round. But there was one toilet stop.
Right.
And I just want to say, for anyone running this time, if you do go to the toilet, please wipe your seat, because I had to clean the seat as well when I stopped.
Another thing to remember.
Yeah, I wasted precious time cleaning the seat when I could have just been running.
Well, that should be added back to you, shouldn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. You have to have some method for it.
Yeah. Did you know when you were doing it that you were setting a world record?
No, as I say in the book, I think with life I just try and give myself mini goals, and the first goal was to get to the start line, then it was to finish the race, and then it was to see if I'd managed to set the world record, and luckily all those things happened.
Fantastic. We saw you on Dancing on Ice, like I mentioned, and the worst thing happened during that time. Your mother passed away, and you dedicated the book and everything to your mother. Tell us a little about her, because you described her as an incredible woman. What did your mother bring to you, Adele?
Oh, my mum is everything, and she's my hero. When people ask about all the amazing people I've met, and
That, or is it too personal?
yeah, sorry, unfortunately, I can't really go too much into it, but I mean, I talk a bit about the fact that we were moved around a lot when I was younger, but one thing I can say is by the time she was 16, she'd lost both of her parents and she had me. So she's just an incredible woman.
Right.
You mentioned that the other rock in your life is your partner, Kate.
Yes.
Tell us about her presence and how she's impacted your journey.
Yeah, another thing I wanted to get across in the book is how cancer affects your friends and family, and I just wanted to let people know that we appreciate you. Anybody that's going through cancer, anybody that supports them, we love you and we think about you, and to be honest, we worry about you more. Getting told I had cancer was bad enough, but having to tell my mum and have my partner be in the room when I heard that news, that was worse to me.
Adele, it's been wonderful speaking to you and hearing your story. The book is Personal Best. It's out now. Thank you so much for being here, Adele.
Is it an audio book as well?
Yes.
And have you read it?
Yes.
Fantastic. The Michelin-starred chef, or should I say Michelin-starred chef and restaurateur Angela Hartnett likes crisps, prefers cheese to dessert, and her favourite pasta is spaghetti and tomato sauce. Simple taste for someone who's famous for giving people fine dining experiences. A protégé of Gordon Ramsay, Angela chefed in some of the best restaurants in the world before opening her own. Murano in Mayfair, followed by two Café Muranos, and Angelina in Courchevel, France. She's famous and in demand for her TV appearances and hosts the excellent and entertaining podcast Dish alongside Nick Grimshaw. Born to an Irish father and an Italian mother, whilst growing up, she inherited the values of wholesome food and the importance of the family meal from her Italian grandmother. We asked her to tell us about the music she's inherited.
Italian parents, so she says a lot of her loves listening to Welsh national anthem and also the Welsh boys choirs and stuff like Welsh male choir. She learned the piano, but none of us really had any musical instruments. We weren't sort of like that, but we always listened to music, you know. We were that generation that were younger, that radio was your way of seeing other things. Top of the Pops was your means of being young and youthful and all the rest of it. Not necessarily the lyrics. I think Simply the Best, I think, is just a...
Clinicians, when COVID hit, obviously we don't have the worst of COVID now, but as we heard from our guests, we've got 1 in 4 medics have contemplated suicide, tens of thousands threatening to leave the NHS. Maybe a bit of mental health support, maybe allowing clinicians to jump the queue and to access mental health support is the way to go. Jason's message, should doctors jump the queue for mental health support? 100% they should. It's like asking if during war should trained soldiers be called up first. And then Jan from Camden messages, says it's spot on there. Hi Matthew, the best support you can provide initially for our doctors, midwives and all the other NHS clinicians is to pay them well enough to retain them in service in the first place. That way they won't have to do extra hours to cover for missing colleagues, and they can also afford to live and have a life. You'll be amazed at how that would improve their mental health. Maybe. Actually, I don't think I would be amazed. It makes perfect sense to me, Jan. Elena's picked up the phone from Bury St Edmunds. Good morning to you, Elena.
Oh, good morning. Thank you, Matthew, for speaking with me.
My pleasure.
I'm a bit conflicted here because whilst I completely agree with, I completely disagree rather, with support being withdrawn, from the medics on the front line. The problem was for me was I found myself, as I say, a bit conflicted about people jumping the queue because to put it into perspective, I'm a mother of a nurse who worked right through COVID, and I helped look after her 3 children while that was happening. And due to having her no supervision support here, effectively she offloaded everything onto me. And the dichotomy I found myself in was that due to personal reasons, I was actually on the waiting list for mental health services myself, and I still am.
This is where you and I come together on this, because my experiences, mainly for severe mental illness, my experiences have been based on 2 friends, one of whom committed suicide and is no longer with us. My own personal experiences have been difficult with the NHS, but they're not as important as people I know that have been severely ill. And the experience of my second friend who sadly committed suicide, the mental health service was just appalling. I mean, it just was non-existent. It took a year to get him into hospital. He was out within 10 days, and it's in the trust that is being examined for 7,500 suspicious deaths in its mental health. So there is a massive problem there. But I don't understand how we can be fixed if the doctors aren't fixed first. So I'm thinking that they have to jump the queue.
No, I get that, but I think essentially, I suppose what I'm saying is that there has to be less of a queue for everybody. You know, we have to address this issue. It's something that's not going to go away, and it's impacting people's lives at different levels. As I say, my daughter's been in the NHS. She's 41 now. She still has a student loan that she's paying off. She's very experienced young woman. She does a fantastic job, like they all do.
But it's impacted on your life as well, and therefore it's impacted on your wider family. I've often said that mental illness is often worse for the loved ones, the people that are around.
Yeah, well that's it. It's like literally, it's like dropping that pebble in the ocean, and the ripples will spread out. And your instinct as a mother is to go and support your daughter, obviously, but who's supporting? You know what I mean? It goes down the line. Who's supporting who? And it's like a sticking plaster. You just put the sticking plaster on it. You get on with it. But ultimately, the sticking plaster eventually gets a bit grubby and it falls off, and you have a gaping open wound there, and it's just not being fixed.
Lena, I totally agree, and I just think it's really interesting that your story shows how the impact of mental health stresses in the workplace on your daughter then impact on the wider family. Lena, thank you. Mohammed's hanging on the line from Bradford. Good morning to you, Mohammed.
Hi, good morning. Good morning to everybody listening.
What are your thoughts then on mental health support for NHS workers? Should doctors be able to jump the queue for starters?
I think, well, it's a very interesting topic. Jumping the queue is not the right word to use because most of our patients attached to it, but I think it should be given priority because I'm working in the NHS myself as a care worker, and it's not easy. You know, physically, emotionally, it's draining, and you don't get, I mean, by the end of the shift, you're absolutely exhausted, and you can't enjoy your personal life. And, you know, all the frontline workers, the police, especially, nowadays, because crime has gone pops, and NHS workers, they should have the best services to look after their well-being because they're care for us, to provide doctors, they do everything else for us. If it wasn't for them, then it'll be, I don't want to use the word, anarchy.
Okay, so can I ask, because I just don't know specifically, but this extra, the help that was provided for mental health to clinicians during COVID, now the worst of COVID is over, is there still a case for funding that, an ongoing programme of mental health support for NHS workers?
So, I mean, COVID was a huge phase that obviously the world went through and is still going through. And obviously everyone is overstretched during that time, and, you know, but nowadays I think there's a lot going on here, and you see we have to go back to the original books and read, I mean, think about, have an open and honest conversation of what is mental health. You know, what is there? I mean, there are certain illnesses that are pure mental illnesses.
I'm loving what you're saying here, because I've been really frustrated that we tend to have lumped mental health as one big pot. And within my experience, there are people that have serious mental illness, and at the opposite end of the scale, you have people that may have been dumped and are feeling a bit down. And I think, Mohammed, I just think you're absolutely right. Just like we've had the CAS review into transgender things, transgender issues, we need to have a similar discussion about mental health and separate out the stuff that's clinically very worrying, suicide and such like, from lesser concerns I would have of people that are just feeling a bit down. And until we have that conversation, I suspect we won't have clarity on this issue. Mohammed, thank you. You're listening to Matthew Wright on LBC. The time now, 9:31. Time for the latest LBC News headlines from Jenny Busby.
5 people have been killed after a man attacked them with a knife at a shopping centre in Bondi Beach near Sydney. Several people have been badly injured, including a small child. The suspect has been shot dead by police. Joe Biden says he expects Iran to attack Israel sooner than later and is moving additional assets to the Middle East. Tehran's been threatening retaliation for an attack on its consulate in Damascus, which killed several senior officers. And 2 horses died at the Grand National Festival yesterday, the first fatalities of the year. There were also 8 arrests after fighting broke out at the Aintree course. 3 drones were seized for flying over restricted areas. LBC weather: cloudy with showers in the north of England, Scotland and Wales, sunny spells elsewhere and a high of 20 degrees.
This is LBC.
Today, virtual reality training platforms like Resolve help both professional and amateur athletes practice while recovering from injury. Training in the metaverse allows injured athletes to continue to work on their focus and reaction times so they can keep their skills sharp and return to their sport with confidence. Meta and the metaverse are having impact today.
Sport reunion. What am I doing getting these people together after all these years? The last time we shared a room, there was leg warmers and bra skirts involved.
We can't help the uncertainty around getting old friends together. But when it comes to bringing your old pensions together, we can help. Transfer all your old pensions into one place. To combine, to standardlife.co.uk. Transferring pensions won't be right for everyone. Money invested is at risk. Provided by Phoenix Life Limited, trading as Standard Life. For full details, visit standardlife.co.uk.
Flying from Luton Airport? The Luton Airport Express takes you from London St Pancras to the terminal in as little as 32 minutes. From just £10. So let's go. Let's go for adventures with friends, sun and sea with the family, or a city escape somewhere romantic. There's no traffic and no stress. So pack your bags and let's go on the Luton Airport Express. Buy your tickets now at lutonairportexpress.co.uk.
At Big Motoring World, we love giving you a huge choice of low-priced cars. But we're bigger than that, because we're big on all the things that matter to you. Like the little details that'll make your car buying experience a lot more, from fully refundable online deposits to a free milkshake while you browse. See bigmotoringworld.co.uk. We're big on what matters to you.
Play Set for Life and you could. £10,000 every month for 30 years. Set for life. Play now on the National Lottery app. Terms, rules and procedures apply. Players must be 18 or over.
Hey, Harry. Hello, mate. Got any tips for the football? Your best bet is to head to BetVictor. But a little tip from me, see how the players get off the bus. What's that? Well, if they've got their headphones on and that look on their face, it means they're up for it. But if they're in their casuals with one of those designer handbag, boot bag things, jog on. But they're keeping there anyway. A packed lunch.
Lunch. I've got pie and mash today.
Gotta go, pal.
Listen to Harry and make your best bet on the football at BetVictor. 18 plus, begambleaware.org.
Matthew Wright on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
Wendy in Petswood messages, Matthew, like you, I can see both sides of the argument regarding clinicians and mental health support. Yeah, that's we're talking about all the posh foods.
Yes. I didn't know that, William. That's fascinating. That. So unless you're trying to tell us something.
William claim
university and all that wasn't an option because I didn't have the grades. And I think that was the point where, you know, I had to kind of break away and I had to kind of do my own thing, you know, and kind of my dad kind of, you know, lost the house and stuff like that, moved in with his brother. And for about a year I hadn't seen him, and then I got the phone call that he passed away and alcohol took his life. And that's what sent me on a journey kind of into homelessness and stuff like that, because I was was numbed by guilt, pain, you know, grief, trauma, tried to pretend nothing was happening, you know, it didn't happen, you know, didn't it? And then, you know, I just went on, I kind of lost my job because I'd be drinking all the time just to try to block things out. I couldn't process it, I was only a young guy. And then ended up in Glasgow, you know, as a young person, kind of homeless, trying to navigate, you know, all the hostels and stuff like that in Glasgow. And
tell us about those early days when you realised that you're homeless, David, in these awful circumstances. I mean, what was it like?
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's like, you don't realise it at the time. It just, you know, it's kind of happening, but you don't see it happening because you're just kind of, it's just survival, you know. And I bumped into a youth worker who had actually went to school when she was a bit older than me. She said, look, you need to go register with the Hamish Allen Centre, which is a kind of centre in Glasgow, you can register. And then I've just placed in the, you know, 80-bed facilities, you know, with a lot of people in there needing support, you know, which they weren't getting, so it was quite chaotic, you know, people maybe just out of prison, stuff like that, who, you know, loads of people who just need support and help, but actually everyone's placed together, and there's, you know, and that just becomes even more chaotic and more dangerous for everyone who's there, because, you know, the opportunities that are presented to you can be quite damaging and quite high risk. And that's when I was quite lucky. I got involved with a youth charity who got me the kind of supported, similar to Centrepoint in London, who gave me secure kind of accommodation, temporary accommodation, but it was secure, and a support worker, and that was when I came across the poster.
Well, tell us about this big issue football poster. This changed your life.
Yeah, it was just, I mean, I was down in the foyer, and it just said, look, do you want to play for Scotland? And I was like, what's this poster? Do you know, what does that mean? Yeah. And basically, the big issue were responsible for finding the Scotland team to go and represent Scotland in the Homeless World Cup, which was actually 20 years ago, so I'm kind of even older than to describe. But
I didn't realise the Homeless World Cup had been going for so long, because to be honest, I only first heard about it when it came here to Wales in Cardiff, and Michael Sheen was at the helm. He brought it to Wales, the great Michael Sheen, and it's an incredible thing. Tell us how many teams compete, and, you know...
Yeah, so, you know, back then when I played there was 28 teams, but now there's 64, 60 women's teams, 40 men's teams. It's been all over the world, from Rio de Janeiro to Milan and Paris and so on. And obviously, I don't know if some of you might have seen the Beautiful Game film, which was released on Netflix last week, featuring Bill Nye and Michael Ward. So that's the whole story of the kind of Homeless World Cup. It's been inspired by it. It's been, you know, some of the former players were involved in it, and it follows the journey of the England Homeless World Cup team, which Street Soccer London, which I run as well, we're responsible for sending the team each year. But for me at the time, you know, it was just when you're in that position, you kind of wake up with nothing to do and nowhere to be, and suddenly just training for this tournament and you know, meeting up with teammates and having role models within your coach just gave you that purpose and that hope at a time when hope was kind of non-existent.
Did it give you hope seeing players from other of the world come and play against you as well?
Yeah, I mean, putting on the Scotland jersey, you know, Scotland are actually one of the better teams at the Homeless World Cup, believe it or not. We're actually decent at football there.
You've won a few times, right?
Yeah, we won in 2011 and 2011. Sorry, 2007 and 2011. It was amazing because you were meeting people from all over the world. You know, I kind of became really friendly with one of the players from Namibia at the time, and he was telling me his story. And you know, when I realised what the options was presented to him, no healthcare system, no education, I actually felt lucky, believe it or not, even though I was in such dire straits in Scotland. I was kind of humbled by the conversation, and actually I felt lucky compared to Johannes, you know, so it gave me real insight. And then it came tournament, and I was just kind of re-inspired. Started coaching kids football and moved out of homelessness, got my own house, and went back into education to train as a community worker. So I was just kind of combining community work and football for a number of years, and then having seen so many people in and around the city centre not really change, they're still in that stuck position, I thought we need to do more, so that the idea for Street Soccer.
Sports does incredible things for people, doesn't it?
Yeah, David's saying purpose. It's that thing, you know, the marathon get
is public investment crowding in, and this is, I use this phrase, you know, crowding in is the verb. This is investment, and you know, one begets the other, and that if you want to get moved from the kind of low investment economy. We are a low investment economy, a very low investment. To become a high investment economy, the way you do it is that way. And businesses will kind of have follow. It's rather like a kind of, you can, I mean, this image has just flown into my mind. It may not work, but it's rather like a farmer, you know, ploughing a field, and then, you know, and as the earth comes up, all the kind of birds kind of feed off the worms and stuff. It's a bit like that. If the state acts as kind of ploughing the field with public investment and throwing out opportunity, you quickly find the kind of business sector coming in behind it. And this notion that you can do it, I mean, that the only route is tax cuts is actually intellectually wrong, provenly kind of feeble. I mean, I think if you'd used the money that you spent on tax cuts in the direction I've just kind of outlined, we'd have much bigger growth. So there you go, that's my view.
Well, no, and it's a most excellent one, if I may say so. But in the gritty,
you agree with it?
Yeah. But in the gritty, febrile world of frontline politics, with an election to lose, I guess Jeremy Hunt is sitting there thinking, well, penny off income tax. I mean, who's been able to deliver that in recent years? The public are going to love me. I'm going to get loads of votes, and yet the polls I look at will say that what the public wants overwhelmingly is investment in public services, and that you're not going to get that by reducing taxes.
I mean, it could be MRI scanners, it could be... I don't know whether you have to go near the court system easily, but, you know, it's a 2 or 3 year wait to hear even tiny things being decided in the courts. I mean, schools, we don't know the story. I mean, for every civil apprenticeships, there's 3 people kind of cleaning up to get it. I mean, it's and. I'm a big apostle of Sure Start, actually, which is very... There was evidence this week about how fantastically it helps, and particularly disadvantaged kids, you know, under 5, in both educational and health outcomes. The 2,500 centres have closed, you know. I mean, why not build some of that back now?
I see so much love for Sure Start. There's not many government policies of any political party that I can think of that have had such a warm reception for people. It's interesting, Will, that you should pick on that. Will Hutton there, former editor of The Observer, thank you very much. Hassan is waiting on the line from Cambridge to talk about just this subject. Good morning to you, Hassan.
Good morning. Look, I think Will Hutton is right. I mean, we have anemic growth. We have not invested in public services or infrastructure. We have not invested in critical worker space like doctors and nurses. But we have a government which is obsessed about tax cuts so it can try and get 1% more on the opinion poll.
But so you see tax cuts as buying votes, essentially. That's what. There's no other reason for it.
No, I don't think there is. I think the Tory economists also realize that these are futile, but these are just trying to headline grab or show a direction of travel which they haven't done in 14 years. And you cannot sort of keep cutting down your running expenditure and running down your tax revenue in the hope of somehow restarting the economy. If you look at the US, they have had heavy investments in infrastructure and they have best growth rate. But what is disappointing is that Labour, which should be trying to create a very clear dividing line between their economic policies and the Tories, will now just mimic it. So you don't have any major investments being announced by Rachel Reeves. All you talk about is somehow wave a magic wand.
And always, if I may say so, with this caveat, which is, I mean, the Labour phrase is if it's justified by our economic laws, but essentially if we can afford it is the message, which means that you say we're going to do this, this and this if we can afford it, which doesn't actually tell voters what you're going to do at all, does it? Hassan, lovely talking to you. More of your calls to come, plus Fraser Knight, our reporter, will bring us the very latest on that major incident in Sydney. All after the latest ABC News headlines from Jenny Parsman.
5 people have been stabbed to death and a number badly hurt at a shopping centre in Sydney. The suspect's been shot dead by police. Joe Biden says he expects Iran to attack Israel sooner rather than later, but has warned against it. And the RSPCA wants the British Horse Racing Authority to look into the deaths of 2 horses challenges at yesterday's Grand National Festival. Wet for Scotland, Wales and Northern Ireland, sunny spells elsewhere and a high of 20 degrees.
LBC Travel, I'm Louise Cookie. One lane is closed on the M25, that's clockwise, because of a breakdown between junction 5 and 6 for Godstone. There's been a breakdown as well westbound on the M4, that's between junction 10 and 11 for Reading. One lane is closed there too. In Greenwich, the Blackwall Tunnel is shut. That's southbound because of works taking place all weekend from the A13. In Limehouse, it's looking heavy on the A13 itself. That's Commercial Road, westbound at Butcher Road. And it's queuing on Tower Bridge approach in both directions because of an accident at Tower Bridge. On the tubes, Northern Line services are not stopping at Goodge Street or at South Wimbledon. And on the trains, replacement buses are running on Southern. That's between Red Hill and Tunbridge because of a landslip.
Coming up at 10 on LBC, Matt Fry.
Angela Rayner, the most colourful figure on the Labour front bench, has said she'll resign if the police find against her the law applied or a political witch hunt.
Matt Fry on LBC.
Did you know that We Buy Any Car will guarantee to buy your car? So why waste time inviting car dealers over to kick your tyres, only for them to change their mind about buying it? You could be doing something way better, like tap dancing. Ta-da! Just sold my car to We Buy Any Car. To find out how much your car's worth in 30 seconds, enter your reg number now at WeBuyAnyCar.com. Admin fee may apply. For more information, visit WeBuyAnyCar.com/info.
Hey, Harry. Hello, mate. Got any tips for the football?
Your best bet is to head to Big Victor, but a little tip from me, see how the players get off the bus.
What's that?
Well, if they've got their headphones on and that look on their face, it means they're up for it. But if they're in their casuals with one of those designer man bag, handbag, boot bag things, jog on. They keep in there anyway. A packed lunch? Oh, lunch. Got fine mash today. Gotta go, pal.
Listen to Harry and make your best bet on the football at BetVictor. 18 plus, BeGambleAware.org.
Isn't it funny how some things in life are good when they're high, but others are good when they're low? Take exam grades, for example. Those are good when they're high. But your 5K time, now that's much better low. With Waitrose new lower prices, you can